He said, most people don't understand or even realize that. He said, they're not deists.
Right.
They were Protestant
Christians. So just hold on a second. Just hold on a second here. Hi, guys. I'm live without Jason. I don't know where the guy went. But, right now I'm having a nice little conversation with Eric. There's a way of putting him up there. Would like to do it. I just have no idea about the audio here, the microphone. We're going to try this. Okay. So what were you saying, Eric?
No, I was just saying that David Horowitz was basically the one sort of carrying the torch for, patriotism and the American, the American ethos.
Right.
One of the people that you would least likely expect that would be doing it. Mm-hmm. So, and wrote an entire book about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, I'll let you go so that you can. I'll see if I can prompt. I'll see if I can prompt Jason to
get on here. Yes, right. Well, like I said, I emailed him, left a message. I texted, left a message, and I don't know where he went. But thanks. Okay. All right, I'll check in with you later.
All right, Kurt.
All right, bye. Okay, so hopefully the audience will start to warm up here. Where Jason went, I have no idea. Okay, trying to get a hold of him. Who knows where he went? But I just want to underscore two things as I roll into this. First of all, thank God that Tina Peters is free. This is big. All right. We're not going to hear much for a couple of weeks, but the fireworks will start just before the 4th of July, I suspect. That's right. And just if you haven't followed what goes on in Colorado, got to throw it in. This is the problem. The Colorado officials, election officials, who ended up throwing her in jail were the ones who broke federal law while Tina was adhering to federal law. And it was for adhering to federal law that they decided to throw her in jail. Go figure. So hopefully that will get straightened out and the right people will end up in jail at some point. So there's that. So I just want to mention briefly this workshop I was at Saturday. It was, how should I say this? I'm sorry. Elections are so important to us. Yet there are so many aspects to elections because it is about administration that can frankly be, boring, petty, annoying, time-consuming, the last thing you want to be dealing with. But you know what? They say that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance, and that vigilance has no more important place than during an election. And I'm afraid, let's see, didn't know how much that hit home. Oh my God, if you only knew. Yeah, so Tina Peters here, I think I've got it here somewhere. Give me a second. There it is. See if I can get it up there without problems. Come on. This stupid green screen technology is so annoying. Anyway, tinapeters.us. You go check it out. And it's got lots of videos, interviews, the background story. It's got the actual court papers, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, it is blocking it. Yeah, it's a terrible green screen. But I have a secret to tell you about this green screen. It is also the portal to Hogwarts Academy. Just wanted to let you know. So, yeah, I got to give this guy one more try. I got more to say about the fraud that's going on around us. We're supposed to talk tonight about a guy named Matthew Wagner. Matthew Wagner is definitely an example of a bad actor, okay? And let's see here. So I'm trying to get him on the phone. All right, Matthew Wagner is the Democrat registrar for Fairfield, Connecticut. And it turns out that not once, but twice, this guy has been caught doing things that are, shall we say, irregular. And it's been part of a running battle with the Republican registrar. So, yeah, well, if you saw my son, it is funny. Anyway, so Jason, Where are you? Jason. Yoo-hoo.
You have reached JBD Investigations and also Common Sense News and Entertainment.
This is not how you build great media empire, comrade. No, this is not how you build great media empire. You don't build a media empire by not showing up. I am pleading with you to get on here. All right. I don't know. Okay. I'm sure it's going to be an emergency. See, the thing with Jason is he's always out on the road, he tries to get home, but sometimes, another emergency crops up and he just can't make it. Okay. So that's all right. All right. So Mr. Wagner, this all starts in 2022 when he was, shall we say, yep, us. That's right. JK, baby. USA. This gentleman, let's just deal with the worst of it. He was caught taking down voter information, deleting it, okay? And then what you would have in the file of voter information was the signature for absentee ballot verification. He was deleting the signatures and then putting everything else back. Very strange. But he was caught doing this, and shall we say more than once. Mishandling of ballots, fiddling around with the tabulators when he wasn't allowed to. No, this guy's been doing some pretty bad things. You heard about Wagner. Okay, yeah. So Yankee Institute, just from May 22nd, they just put out the latest. The SEC dismissed charges against this Wagner guy. It's just the SEC is such a pathetic organization. I don't even know why they exist. They pick on people for the pettiest things and they ignore the big crimes. There are a few exceptions, but that's it, just to make themselves look good. And, I guess maybe we need to do an investigation of the SEC. That is a thought. That might prove to be very fruitful. But I'm bringing up Mr. Wagner because it turns out that he's not just a registrar. He has been deeply involved in Lamont's campaigns, and I'm sure he's been involved in other campaigns. So he is a hardcore Democrat. Now, it's one thing to be a hardcore Democrat and do your job. It's another thing to be a hardcore Democrat and engage in what are clearly shady practices. That's the category he falls into. And still, he hasn't been bagged. He still works there. And I just find it amazing. So, since I'm talking here, let's get the miscreant up here. There he is. Now that is Mr. Wagner, but that photo is dated from 2015, so he's probably gotten a little bit of gray hair and a few other things. But my question is, okay, so you, Buster, helped out Mr. Lamont in his campaign, and you've been involved in other Democrat activities. There's a term, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called a sociogram. So a sociogram is I should have had an example of this, but anyway. So you draw a circle of yourself and then think of a best friend. And then you draw a really thick line between a circle around your best friend and you, and it's very close. Then you have an acquaintance. You see him every so often. Okay, now you draw a dotted line and much further away. When you compile all the different relationships, the people you have in this pattern called a sociogram, you get a sense of where you fit. Well, we would love to have Mr. Wagner's sociogram. Who is he closely associated with? Who is he kind of associated with? And then, of course, when we look at those associations, we want to look at who they're associated with. Because I really think that Mr. Wagner may turn out to be the tip of an election fraud iceberg right here in good old Connecticut. That's my conjecture. If I'm proven wrong, I will admit that I'm wrong. But right now, there are enough here. Let me just take a second here. I'm going to pull this up, make my case here. Okay. Don't know if you know Yankee Institute, not to be confused with Yankee T News. But let's see here. Okay. In 2022, okay, but he's been caught twice now, 2022 and 2024. In 2022, there were complaints that he was deleting voting location items from the Fairfield Registrar of Voters website, that he was working unsupervised on voting tabulators, on a weekend. And then First Selectman had to change the locks to keep him out. And see what else have we got. That there are other reports of his misconduct, willful, material neglect of duty, and incompetence threatened by the integrity of the 2023 municipal elections. So that's just a summary. It would be nice if I could get a hold of the actual, what's the term I'm looking for? The actual report. Okay, looking at them. Well, it always goes deeper. And the nature of deeper. Okay, I want to go back to this. Let's see, do we have a report? We do not. I want to go back to this seminar that was on Saturday. The guy's name was Mark Cook. Now, there is a community of people out there who are very, very concerned about what happened in the 2020 election. I'm one of them. And there are people, Captain Keschel, I think, is the name of one. Peter Bernegger is another. Peter Clement is another. Linda Sinkowitz here in Connecticut. Linda D'Alessio. Let me see, Anne Marie. I wish I could remember her last name. She was at the seminar. There's a bunch of people, okay? And in different ways, we're all converging on this problem and trying to deal with it. Ultimately, it's very clear that hand counting is, quote, the way to go. So the seminar was to teach everybody how to do hand counting, which we did. But Mark Cook spent a lot of time talking about the varieties of fraud that we see in Connecticut, in the nation. And, I would raise my hand and say, let me tell you a few stories about Connecticut. In fact, I'll tell one now. Let's see here. Yeah, you bet. Well, hey, but he probably doesn't look like that. He's fatter, skinnier, gray hair. Maybe he has a beard now. I don't know. Maybe somebody did something to that sort of piggish looking nose of his. I don't know. But we need to know who he is. And I'm calling for a further investigation of this gentleman. And I mean a deep investigation. And don't worry, unlike your brethren, we won't dox you. We just want the facts. That's all. We just want the facts. Okay. The other person, a note, I'll hope to get her up the other night. She's the one I'm about to describe is the real prize winner, all right? Her name is Christina Yala, and she is a former state representative from Bridgeport. Her mother, or aunt, was the Democrat registrar for the city of Bridgeport. Nice little family connection there. Well, in September of 2015, Ms. Ayala was convicted of, count them, 19 counts of voter fraud. So in other words, she single-handedly violated voting laws 19 times. 19 times. Wow. You don't make mistakes. That was willful, okay? Anybody who does it that much and does it willfully, properly speaking, belongs in jail. Just to mention it, in Texas, there was a case of this woman who happened to be an illegal alien who voted legally 5 times. She boasted about it, and she got 5 years of jail in Texas. Right. I don't vote everything you said. Well, that I'm not sure, oh God, what are you going to do here? Not voting is not an answer either, right? And yes, well, you may not consent, but unfortunately they pass laws. And then you have people who like to walk around and enforce those unjust laws. So I just find myself having to do everything I can to try and stand my ground. All right, what happened? He literally overslept. Wow, Jason. Okay, that's the best one. I thought there was a crisis. I thought it was an emergency, but no, he overslept. All right, well, I'm going to rag him a little bit when he gets on. So, what was I saying? 19 counts. Oh, yeah, and the woman in Texas. But Christina Ayala was given probation, and I don't even think she was fined for it. So this just further underscores the injustice that lives in Connecticut. If you're a liberal, you can do anything. If you're a conservative, if you so much as twitch, you go to jail. That's basically the problem that we have in Connecticut. And it's not going to get fixed anytime soon. But I still remain optimistic. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, and people have to decide that we're going to fight against bastards like this. Let me just take him off for now. I'm going to put him back up again when Jason shows up. Oh, God. If there was, it will be signed into law in 2027. Yeah, that's the anti-homeschooling bill. If we're talking about the anti-homeschooling bill, I'm saying do not comply. That's one part. And, the leader of the homeschooling movement in Connecticut would be the lawyer Deborah Stevenson. And she assured me that they're going to fight this. And it's just going to be a question of what form it's going to take. Now, as a lawyer, of course, you're going to sue. And what's that going to look like? It's just, will there be a federal judge, perhaps, because it's unconstitutional? Will they issue an injunction against the law? Maybe. All right. There's so many problems here. You see, my mind keeps jumping from one part of this to the other, and it's not a good idea. Let me go back to the issue of fraud. Mr. Cook, Mark Cook, has suggested, and I believe it's true, that there are a lot of elements of fraud in Connecticut for our managing our elections that go on undetected to this day, undetected. And I believe that's true. Now, let me give you yet another example of election fraud in Connecticut. And it's the type of thing where, once again, I have to make the statement that there's a lot of smoke, but no fire. Fire somewhere, though, well hidden. That's my argument. So it's 2010. It's Tim Foley running against Malloy for governor of Connecticut. All right. And this is the first round. And is that 2010 or 2014? I'm trying to remember. In any event, it was a very close race. It was the Working Family Party vote in Bridgeport that actually put Malloy over the top at the time. However, there was some serious questions about election fraud. So here is what happened. Number one, there was a crisis in the middle of Election Day where you had polling places reporting a shortage of ballots. They'd run out of ballots. Well, how did that happen? If you back it up a little bit, a few months before the election, each polling place would have figured out how many ballots they need. So let's just say in round numbers, they would have needed 4,000 ballots for their polling place. There was, I forget, 20 plus polling places in Bridgeport. Instead, some of them, not all of them, would have only gotten 2,000 ballots. All right. So they didn't really, because they don't check these things, they wouldn't have counted the ballots. But halfway through the day, they would have noticed, the pile's getting kind of low. So what did they do? You're going to love this. They ran out to a print place and had Xerox copies made of extra ballots. That's illegal. It's against the law. And part of it being against the law is that each and every ballot has its own serial number. Okay? So now, instead of there being a series of ballots with the corresponding numbers, all right. Naughty boy.
Hello.
Naughty boy.
I'm not apologizing, but hey, we're gonna go live on Facebook now for everybody.
All right. Well, we
have accomplished a lot today, which gives me an excuse for oversleeping.
I see. All right. Well, I'm in the middle of telling the story of the 2010 election fraud.
Let's hear about it. I'm
All right.
listening.
All right. So just to bring you up to date.
Live here on Facebook.
All right. So I was explaining that in 2010, there was a huge 2010. No. It was 2014. It's got to be. It's been so long. It's too long. Yay.
16 years.
Oh, God. Let's see. The governor. This is 2026. So you go back 2026, 2022, 2018, 2014. I'm almost certain it was 2014. Okay. And the problem was that there was a huge, it was a crisis because it all started when the voting places in Bridgeport in the middle of the day ran out of ballots. You remember this?
Yes.
Okay. And
they had
so
to keep it open later, right? They kept the thing open
well,
like an hour.
That was one of the things. And yeah. that was another joke. I'll get to that. Okay. So as I explained, so what poll workers did was they ran out and made copies of the ballots so that they had more blank ballots, so they had more to run. The problem is it's against the law, illegal. Plus, every ballot has its own serial number. So now all of a sudden, instead of one serial number per ballot, you had hundreds of ballots with the same serial number.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of screws things up. Okay, so before I get to the other part of the story here, I need to make a point. It was obvious that then Secretary of State Susan Bysiewicz had failed, F-A-I-L-E-D, failed to properly train the registrars. And also this issue of properly trained registrars, this is a problem that continues to this day. There's a whole other story to be told there as well. But we'll focus on this part right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, what I am suggesting to you is that one of the ways in which you commit election fraud, institutional election fraud, kind of my pet topic, is to make sure the people running it are incompetent.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't say that fraud was actually committed, but if you have people who don't know what they're doing, fraud becomes something that's very easy to have happen.
And have an excuse for it. And have an excuse for it.
Yes. Okay. All right. So all of this, and so the other element of, sorry, we can say incompetence. Incompetence kind of acts as a cover on top of this. Meantime, two old tricks in Connecticut. Old trick number one: polls closed. Okay. But then all of a sudden, about midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody goes, "Oh, look at that. A missing bag of ballots. Why, we had no idea."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where did that bag come from? Well, it's just part of the election process, right? Bullshit.
Well, right.
You know? Okay, so that's old trick. The other old trick is that who's the last to report in their results in every election? It's one to two possibilities: Bridgeport or Hartford.
Or Torrington.
Well, no. Bridgeport or Hartford.
Too.
So when you look at this, you say we now know that if you're delaying, you're figuring out how many ballots you have to print in order to win. Yeah, well, New Haven, yes, New Haven is another area. So it's bothered me for so long. So yes, if you're going to bring up New Haven, so I'm going to ask DJ Ricky, do you know about the Elm City Municipal Card, DJ Ricky? The Elm City Municipal Card. I await your answer. I guess yes. All right. But sorry, since I have the microphone, right? Okay. I believe it was starting, the concept of New Haven was either the first or the second of the cities in America to introduce the concept of a sanctuary city. Okay. I think the first might have been in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because the idea of a sanctuary city was to make it friendly for illegal aliens, right? Oh, that was the idea. Okay. So what happened? The city decided to issue what was called the Elm City Municipal Card for illegal aliens living in New Haven. And it gets worse. Okay, so this was used as an identification card. They technically, you weren't supposed to be able to use it for elections or anything else where you had to be a citizen. But everything else, you could avail yourself of city services, etc. Couldn't prove your residence or anything else, but here you go. Now, this is the part that should fry you, Jason. Unbelievable. If you went to the website, because they did have a couple of pages on the city website for this Elm City Municipal Card thing, they had encouraged vendors in the city, sporting goods stores, restaurants, and others to offer little discounts to anybody who showed the Elm City Municipal Card.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. So this gets me nuts.
Outrageous.
All right. And just to say it, okay, sanctuary city, sanctuary state, you're still breaking federal laws concerning, being here illegally. They don't care. And it's no different from 1860 and considering you're a member of the Confederacy. No different.
It's no different. It's worse than that because there's no geographical designation. I mean, it could be anywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a real problem. It is a real usurpation of the federal supremacy clause.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I think the Insurrection Act is going to be needed to clean it up. I don't think it's going to be enough just to tell people to go home and everything's okay. And there's a lot of mental illness involved in all this.
Well,
it's not just political, it's also mental.
Yeah, if we're drifting in the whole illegal alien thing, I guess. All right, so here's the deal. Most businesses were illegal anyways. I'm not so sure.
I would say most were.
Well, I think what you'd find here's my bad joke. There would be concentrations of illegal businesses, all right? And where would there be a high concentration of illegals having businesses?
Places like New Haven, Danbury particularly.
Well, where in New Haven?
Well, in the downtown area.
All those food trucks by exit 46.
I call them roach coaches.
Yes. I'll bet you every last one of them is illegal.
I have no doubt. Probably 80%.
That's right.
80% of them anyway, yeah.
Yeah, Long Wharf, right. So there you go.
Long Wharf, yes. Jeez. Where all they do is fish.
So who knows what else goes, I would not eat those fish, sorry. Parasites, by the way, I just want to throw that in. All right. So I want to get back to Bridgeport. The other part of this, which makes it just reek of fraud. Okay. There was a friend of mine who was a registrar in Greenwich, and I asked him one day, because now after this whole debacle in Bridgeport, they had to have a recount. And so I asked him, thank you. I asked him, what is when you go from count to recount, how close should they be? And he basically said, if there's a difference of more than 1%,
something's wrong.
Yes. Would you care to guess how your ass just got pulled out of the fire, dude? Oh my God. All right. JK says, Jason is not late for today. He's early for tomorrow.
Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's funny.
You know what? The fact that I'm late is a good sign for my health. You know why? Because I couldn't sleep up for the last 5-6 years. The most I could sleep without waking up was like 2 hours.
Yeah.
But lately I've been eating I'm keeping track of it on the other podcast, eating so much better, whole foods. Now, like 4 times in the last month, I've just had 3 or 4 hour crashes. I literally stayed unconscious for 3 or 4 hours, which is great. But happened tonight.
Well,
I was thinking 2 hours and I woke up in 3. So what are you going to do?
Okay. Well, what happened to your alarm?
I don't do alarm clocks. I haven't used an alarm clock since I was 17 years old.
Okay. Well,
not once. Maybe I should buy one. I know that's what you're going to say.
Well, I need to bring you back to reality here for a moment. Now, if you have
reality is I don't have enough Z's right now. I'm way behind.
dude, if you expect to build yourself a media empire
I
and
know.
do it without an alarm clock, you're fooling yourself. All right? If you're going to build an empire, you need an alarm clock.
Just leave them wanting a little more. That's all, Court.
Yeah, okay. All right. Anyway, Bridgeport. We keep getting off on Bridgeport here. The big send home message about Bridgeport, okay, is that it was more than 1%. Oh, by the way, they did 2 recounts.
Yeah, it was only like 4%.
5. Okay. 5% should set off all kinds of alarm bells about fraud.
Like alarm clocks.
But it's Connecticut. Nobody cares. I mean, this is why we got to get in the middle of the fight. All right, you ready, Jason? We are moving to chapter 2 here. Chapter 2. You ready?
Ready, I think.
Okay.
That's our boy Cook.
Who?
Is that Cook?
No.
No, it looks like Cook.
No, not even close.
Who is he?
This gentleman's name is Matthew Wagner. He is the Democrat registrar for Fairfield, Connecticut. Caught more than once in doing things that he shouldn't be doing.
Oh, is it POS?
He is a POS. Yes, he is.
And that doesn't stand for proof of service.
No, it doesn't. He, all right, I'll start with the one I heard. Then I'm going to throw in the other one I just found. All right, apparently he's been caught twice now doing things that were illegal. He's had a running battle with the Republican registrar in Fairfield. What's this? Not to go into the weeds, but just like Tina Peters, a person was planning a protest and announced online they were going to do this about the AI centers. Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. But look.
You need people.
We're DJ Ricky, they're making a mistake, all right? I don't know. Sometimes I have to ask myself, what the hell am I doing? There are, yes, for putting it online. Okay. There's more to be done. And more than one person. See, I'm not quite sure how to address this. If we are in the minority position, if we are in the position of being out of power, if we don't have the ability to control what happens around us, we have to get creative. Okay? Are you with me on that, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking events. We're talking a lot of things outside the purview.
All right. So this said, all right, like it or not, our liberal brethren. I'm worried, Court. Worried about what? Well, in this. All right. How do I want to deal with this? Let me try it this way. Are you worried like you're in the LST? It's about 2:00 in the morning. Us. You're worried about us, the USA. Okay. Well, yeah, there is a lot to worry about. Believe me, especially if you were at the seminar on Saturday. Look, Mark Cook laid it out. The elites. All right. So I was saying we got to be creative. I can assure you that for some time now, the elites have been very creative. And a lot of their creativity is directed at rigging the elections. I mean, if we took the time and trouble, I'd have to sit down and kind of put it together. But if we took the time and trouble to compile all the different ways in which votes have been stolen, okay, it would blow your mind, and there'll be no coming back. But I'll use this one example. Actually, I'll use 2. One was that, like it or not, in my opinion, okay, even if you're using these machines, these tabulators for an election, there should not be a flash drive within a mile of any of these machines, okay? But they're used routinely, and this is true out of state as well as, I guess, here. So he showed the group. He took a flash drive, okay? And he just stuck it into a computer and did nothing. He just let it sit there. The flash drive automatically loaded a program that was, quote, injected okay, into the tabulator.
Kind of like a virus almost. Not really, but a virus. Well, it's what, malware, right? It'd be malware, right?
Yeah.
Malware.
Yeah, technically, all right. I'm having a semantic issue here. The point is that it was loading up code, okay, that could screw up the election results.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, going back, I remember a demonstration by this guy. It was 2006. He was testifying in front of, I forget, somebody in Florida, in Ohio, but he showed them exactly what code you write in order to flip the results on an election.
All you got to do is stick that thing in the computer. That's it.
Okay, so let me just add, since I brought this up, I'm going to take this delicate moment. Let's see. Yeah, I was told today a machine can take the vote. You need to speed up the count or be compromised. Yeah, that's just for openers. That is just for openers. I wish I had a video of what he talked about. In any event, the fact, all right, so he showed the 6 lines of code was all you needed. Okay. Now let me
destroy a republic.
Yeah, 6 lines of code.
That's all you need.
Okay. So if you know anything about programming, all right, 6 lines of code means that you could break that up and have go to and jump statements and this and that and get really fancy. And you could really bury those 6 lines of code in the rest of the algorithms, and nobody would have any way of figuring it out. Okay. Yes. Cool. Yes. In a diabolical way.
You know, when we talk about how inventing AI could destroy the human race, but back when we invented the computer, maybe that was when we did it.
Yeah. Well, no,
that's when it started. It just takes a while.
We're benefiting from computer technology right here. I just want to remind you. I got to put this there. Okay. Just to make the point, since I brought it, so he stuck the flash drive in there, and let me point out the mug that we're looking at here, this gentleman, Mr. Wagner.
This POS.
All right, and by the way, I want to put him on our list.
On our name roster?
I'll explain in a minute.
Okay.
One of the things that he was caught doing was fiddling with the voting tabulators on a weekend. He is not allowed to do that.
He's still out there though, doing it.
And he's still out there, okay? Because let me see, I want to just quote the exact thing here. Okay, so this was from, wait, is that the wrong?
What did you say his guy's first name was? Wagner's last name, right?
Yeah, Waggner.
Okay, 2 G's.
Okay. There was okay, he's been in trouble a couple of times though. See, this is the thing. Damn. All right. I want to see if I can find it.
Wagner.
Okay, so here we go. Why am I goofing this up here?
Writing him down.
Why did there's something wrong here. Okay. This is old news here. Part of it is old news, but the allegations about him continue. All right. That's what I'll have to say. And the thing is, all right. I'm trying to keep the pieces of this together here. Hold on. Okay, I was talking about the tabulators, talking about code, how you can screw everything up. All right, I'm going to come back to him. Let's take him off for a minute.
It's off the hook for the moment.
All right. So using the flash drives was one way to infect these machines. There's another. I'm going to talk about it, and I'll make this douche cry and beg for mercy. I like that idea. I'm just.
But for now, let's corner him in a parking lot and ask him a bunch of hard questions live.
Well, I want to do better than that. Okay, and I'll explain what I mean by better.
Okay.
The part I just want to get these other things off my chest. The wireless modems. Are you familiar with wireless modems?
I know what a wireless modem is. I have one right here.
Better known as Wi-Fi. All right. Now, part of the confusion is that you have different Wi-Fi standards. Nonetheless, there are these modems, physical modems for wireless communications that are put in election tabulators. They have no business being there. All right. and our very lovely Stephanie Thomas. I use them all the time, 2.4 to 5.8. Yeah, I think the latest is 7, and they're working on 8. But, the big thing is the speed of data transmission with each new generation is like off the charts. In any event, the problem here is that the state allows them to be in the machines. They make the phony excuse that they, quote, disable the wireless modem when they're being used during elections. I don't believe that for a second.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So, and then the last thing I want to bring up that Mark Cook brought up, this is a total surprise. Okay. You can get used to the idea that a flash drive can be used to program something. That's easy. But what about the idea that a power charger can program something? You just think of it as something that transmits electricity.
Source of power, that's all.
But no. All right. And by the way, for the longest time, one of the subjects of interest, and you'll like this, DJ Ricky, was originally when integrated circuits were created, over in this corner, you had the logic, the arithmetic logic unit, all the processing, the CPU. And over in this corner, you had the memory. But then I can tell you back in the 80s, people were not wasting any time trying to figure out how to embed an arithmetic logic unit inside the memory chip. All right. So there'd be all kinds of speed and performance gains and God knows what else. But they're thinking about that back then. So this is old news. All right. Let's see. I can take over anything without, yeah, exactly. That's pretty much the problem. So hello, hand counting.
That's right.
All right. So now I want to go back to our gentleman here, because now I'm going to make my next point. Okay. This guy used to work, or probably still works, with Lamont. He's worked on Lamont's campaigns in the past. All right. So he's not just a Democrat registrar. He's a fanatical Democrat partisan who happens to be a registrar. Fanatical enough, Fairfield's supposed to be a primarily Republican town. So he's sent on a mission to screw up the voter rolls in a primarily Republican town. All right, that's my allegation. Okay.
So what do we do about this guy? Expose him.
Yes. Well, yeah, no, this is a golden opportunity. Now, you as a PI know that sometimes you don't want to grab that dealer on the street. You want to follow him back to the rat's nest. And you want to see the other rats in there.
Put the guy under surveillance.
And then you want to find out where they go for the big cheese. Okay. So that requires being patient. And I would propose to you that the same kind of patience maybe need to be applied to Mr. Wagner here. He is the tip of the fraud iceberg, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So here's one of the interesting things. Have you ever used fastpeoplesearch.com?
No, I use a program called USAPeopleSearch.com, but it's probably very similar.
Yeah. So one of the features of fastpeoplesearch.com, you start by entering his name and the town you think he's in.
Yep.
So normally they will feed you back his street address, possibly his phone number. And then the best part is there are some tabs, there's some links. And are you ready for the name of one of those links?
What is it?
Associates.
Oh, potential associates, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, look, I have a paid subscription to an online site that's much more powerful in that regard.
Okay, but the point is we want to be able to construct what his network of relationships is. All right. And all right, so that would be part one. Part two, in my mind, would then be that, okay, all right, let's put it this way. I'm going to do it this way. Connecticut, somewhere buried and hidden, has somebody called the Queen of Fraud. Okay, the Queen of Fraud would be that person who directs, manages, coordinates everything that has anything to do with fraud, election fraud committed in Connecticut. We want to find the Queen of Fraud.
We have a fraud coordinator in Connecticut.
Exactly. More than just a coordinator.
A fraud czar.
Okay. So theoretically, this would be organized hierarchically. So there's somebody at the top in charge. Then you have people reporting to the person in charge. And then you have people reporting to the people who are reporting until you get to the very bottom. So I'm suggesting that Mr. Wagner may, in fact, be at the bottom. Right? So he reports to somebody else who coordinates other fraud. And I have to come back and remind you that I don't want to deal with this.
All right, I didn't write it down the first. What's the loser's first name again? Bill? Is it William?
Matthew.
Thank you.
Yeah, Matthew Wagner.
Well, we're going to investigate Matthew Wagner. He's one of our.
Okay. Well, but this. So is Sam good for this?
No, I'm good for this.
Okay. All right. Well, we can sit down and start to get the process started.
I'll write down some associates. We'll come up with some associates and talk about them next time.
That's right.
Okay.
So, and then there have to be some, some other things that point to the possibility of these other people being involved. All right. So, there's another network that we have to construct, and that one is centered around the machines. Okay.
My pen, look out.
John Flynn has talked about the machines endlessly, but I mean, the way he talks about it is, I don't know. It's like he's pointing at the right thing, but he's not somehow. I don't know how to explain.
Well, I just had a talk with John earlier tonight, and we want him to do a 1 hour weekend show on our network, 1 hour on the weekend.
Yeah, you mean with Selena?
No, John Flynn, his own show.
Oh, his show. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's part of our news network to do on Saturday afternoons. He wants to do a show.
Yeah.
Probably about fraud and corruption and whatnot, which is great. We need all that.
Wait a second.
The whole point of this network is to expose fraud to the truth.
Mm-hmm. All right. Wait, so DJ's wearing that small plastic, has internet. And for anyone watching me text in, don't get funny. Don't get funny, yeah? I'm one of the good guys. I didn't realize the stuff I created in the 80s was going to be used for bad intentions.
Yeah, that's what Oppenheimer said.
What?
That's what Oppenheimer said.
Really? No, I think he was quoting the Mahabharata, I believe, or the Upanishads. I can't remember exactly. I am death. I've come. I'm the maker of death, or something. Yeah. Well, and hey, what he saw was small potatoes compared to the other nuclear weapons that came along. So, totally unrelated. My apologies, but the big one, the one where everybody got holy shit, was when the Russians or the Soviets exploded a hydrogen bomb.
1949, I believe.
It was thereabouts.
Yeah. Well, that was when we had a 4-year window between August of 45 and the fall of 49, where we were the only nuclear power in the world.
I think the hydrogen bomb was later. We're going to another fact check.
Well, they exploded their first. The Russians did explode their first nuclear weapon in 1949, I believe.
Okay. Yes.
Whether it was a hydrogen bomb or not, I don't know.
Okay. That was a nice little piece of backpedaling there. When did the Soviets explode a hydrogen bomb? 1953.
Okay.
So August 12, 1953.
But
So
they did explode a nuclear weapon before that, I believe.
Yes, but the hydrogen bomb is a whole other thing.
Oh, it's a whole other level.
Yes, it is.
Isn't it the hydrogen bomb that can kill people without destroying as much property?
No, those are neutron That's a neutron bomb.
There you go.
Neutron bomb, and that was back from the Carter era. So the hydrogen bomb, as it turns out, that the Soviets exploded. They had calculated what the explosive potential was, and they said, this is a little bit much. and they actually dialed it back.
Who
Okay?
know where
Massive explosion, unlike anything we've ever seen, and they dialed it back. Wow.
We dialed it forward since then.
Well, great. Mutually assured destruction. This is what we're talking about as far as that's concerned. And so I don't know if we're talking about mutually assured destruction in the case of Mr. Wagner, but we're going to find out. So anyway, so the network of people around the election machines is very important. So that's who in the Secretary of State office is responsible for evaluating the election machines. Does that same person handle the request for bid? What other suppliers were competing to supply these machines? Okay, so that's important to know. Then who within the Secretary of State office is responsible for evaluating these machines? Okay, so we need to know.
It's all part of the gang.
Yes, it is. We need to. I'm afraid we do have to get into the weeds on this if we're going to do this right.
We do.
All right. So there's that. Now, the part where it gets kind of weird is the certification of the registrars. So, true story. Linda Sinkowitz, who has been staying on top of this case from day one, since she got started in 2018, actually had a sit-down conversation with Stephanie Thomas, the Secretary of State, about a year or so ago. And in that conversation, free energy. Free energy. Seriously, dude. Not a lot of energy. Free energy, but not a lot of energy. Linda had put together a list of about 14 or 15 recommendations for things that had to be done to fix the elections, to actually establish election integrity in Connecticut. And that list, I have it buried somewhere. I'd have to dig to find it. But one of the things in Linda's work is she found out just how bad the, quote, culture is for registrars. So let me just go down the list. Through no fault of Stephanie Thomas, through no fault of Linda's or anybody else, the state has not really paid attention to registrars. Again, because as important as voting is, they don't think that the registrars are that important. They're not that well paid, not that well trained. There is no program to encourage people to become registrars. Would you care to guess at the average age of a registrar in Connecticut?
Probably 71.
Not bad. It's about 75.
Wow.
Hey, that's the average age. That means half of them are older. You got people in their 90s who are registrars. What do they know from Excel? Okay. And they still live and die by Excel. Better for worse. Okay. So you look at this, you say, and then, all right, so there's that part of the problem. And there's not, and there's an argument that they don't have enough people to constantly clean up the rolls. That would be true for the larger towns, but not the smaller towns. But it's still an arduous task, okay? They have to periodically clean the rolls. That can be expensive because you got to send out something to everybody on your list. That's every person who's a registered voter.
It shouldn't be just about sending things out to voters. There should be massive database searches that go on to take dead people out and things like that.
Supposed to be, but there's not. So this is one of the other hot issues. All right, you've got dead people who are still there, and what Linda went through to deal with that was unbelievable. Okay, and we still don't have satisfaction.
Yeah, and only Connecticut. I know the list you're talking about, and Connecticut only employs 3 out of the 15 security measures that should be used, all of which should be used, and they only do 3 of the 15. So,
where did you get that piece of information?
That's from Joe Hoff.
Oh, okay. You mean Joe Hoff?
Joe Hoff, yep.
Only okay. All right. Well, now since you brought him up, I want to stress the importance of his contribution.
Get him together with Cook.
Okay. So Joe Hoff is an accountant, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. A forensic accountant.
Or forensic accountant, yeah. So he made the point that corporations, because of federal legislation, have to use financial controls, highly detailed, rigorous financial controls.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, they're evaluating some income statement from the corporation or some expense statement. There are procedures they have to go through to make sure that everything is accurate and everything cross-checks. All right. What we have in Connecticut for the election rolls, not even close. And so his proposal is that the model for financial controls should be adapted to our voter rolls.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great idea. That's, more work, more expensive, but it's going to ensure that you have integrity in your election system. Okay, from the record keeping side of it.
Oh,
yes. So these are.
In order to do these things, that we need people in positions that support it, and that's the problem. We have so much corruption in our higher echelons.
So anyway, the main point I want to make is that Linda found a very embarrassing situation. There is a process whereby registrars are supposed to be trained and certified. If they are not trained and certified, they have no business certifying elections.
Mm-hmm.
It was some huge number, call it half, of all the registrars in the state of Connecticut are not certified.
That's horrible.
So they're breaking the law.
Yeah, they're breaking the law.
Okay. Not to mention all the other problems they have. It's just, all right. So
seems daunting.
Okay. So what's interesting is that one, when Linda presented that to Stephanie Thomas, then Stephanie Thomas, quietly had a shit fit and realized that she had to deal with it. So in that case, yes, then she jumped on it and got them certified because that's required by law, but it wasn't being done. So what is it? A citizen, a concerned citizen has to show up for the person who's responsible for the integrity of elections and make her case? The Secretary of State doesn't have the presence of mind, the mindfulness, to be able to check everything that they're supposed to check and make sure everything's in order? Somebody had to walk in the door and beat her over the head? What the hell?
Yeah, it's up to us now. It's so corrupted.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just, I think there's there may be another argument, and that is that there's a loss of spirit. There's a general loss of spirit when it comes to government.
And freedom, and taking freedom for granted.
That's part of it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because we're born with it here, and we grew up with it here, and we don't realize how difficult it is to maintain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this comes back to my saying, yes, there's a need for a culture change. This comes back. I mean, it's connected to all the stuff that Thomas Becker's been talking about. Mm-hmm. All right. Because we've seen, certainly in the case of the Republican Party, not so much the Democrat Party, a loss of spirit, a loss of belief in embracing our founding principles and living by them in terms of government.
Parties. The Democrat Party is kingpin in doing that, so we don't want to exclude them from that. They've lost it completely. Well,
so what it comes down to is they just want power, and this is, again, they're wanting power. It's not self-interest. The good
it's a collective Marxist self-interest.
That's not self-interest, and there's a point at which I guess you have to stop. Right. For what it's worth,
it's an oxymoron to say collective self-interest is an oxymoron, but you know where I'm going.
Okay. So the more difficult problem here is that maybe we need to not be talking so much about Democrats and communists, and just stick with elites. Okay. So this was Mark Cook's other main point, that it's misleading to just focus on Democrats. It's misleading to label them as communists. It's just people in power who want to keep their power. And they look upon you and me as peasants, and they want to make damn sure that the peasants don't get any power.
Mm-hmm.
So they invest a lot into rigging the elections. Okay, now
and it's true that the source of it is at the top is on both sides, not just the Republican.
Right, but so we have to. All right, so here's the thing: in Connecticut, I'm quite comfortable in pointing to Stephanie Thomas as the queen of fraud. But what complicates this, and again, this is a point that Mark Cook was making, is that she can be a victim. Okay, the tabulator companies, in a sense, are the real plotters, the real traitors in this story.
Yeah.
And she's just following their directions, so to speak. She has to become enlightened as to all the ways in which they're stealing elections. So that's a whole other discussion.
Well, I don't believe the notion that she's a victim. I don't buy into that, because if you and I can sit here with just being a couple of citizens essentially and come up with all this information, the idea that the Secretary of State is not familiar with it, has to become familiarized with it, I just don't believe it.
Yeah, I think, well, I'm not so sure, because I do see occasions where people who should know don't know. Because
that's true. Maybe that is true, but at the level of the Secretary of State of the state of Connecticut, I don't know.
All right, I'm going to rub it in, Jason. Sorry. How many times have I told you things that I thought you should know that you don't know?
Well, it goes for everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. I still find it hard to believe. I know it's surprising how naive people can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not going to give Stephanie a pass on this.
All right. Anyway, so what I want to get to here is that while it's Democrats in Connecticut who are committing the fraud, it's Republicans in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so this just points to the idea of elites using the parties to control election outcomes.
Yeah, don't think for a minute that, and then, John Flint could tell you, and Todd Heck could tell you too. Don't think for a minute that our Republican National Committee is somehow exempt from this power-hungry thing, that they're doing everything they can to keep their power and their influence too.
Mm-hmm. All right. So all this just says to me that we have to be careful about the labels that we use. All right. We have to be clear on exactly who the enemy is. Like it or not, it's the elites. And guess what? Let me think. I believe our governor would happen to be in the top 1% or 1/10 of 1% of wealth in America.
Yeah, it is the elites, but let's not. I don't want to turn down the temperature really, in terms of the fact that the elites, these elites you're talking about, do embrace Marxism and other terrible forms of government.
Okay, only to serve their desire for power.
Correct.
They don't want to be Marxist to be a Marxist. They want to be Marxist so they can have power. Right.
Well, I don't know if that's all true. All of them. There's a lot of them that follow the Marxist ideology.
There you go.
Okay, well, with that, I'm going to check out for tonight.
You can't take it anymore.
Can't take it anymore. I got a lot to do before this night's over.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. Dots over here, y'all. We're doing things behind the scenes that are huge. So, I got a little. I put that on Facebook today, by the way.
Yeah.
Facebook Live right now. But I do have another site on Facebook called Common Sense News and Entertainment. We're going to start shifting gears over to that strictly on Facebook for now. And I'm going to start shifting posts over to there. I got to get the label up on there. So little by little, things are coming together.
Okay.
And I apologize for being late tonight, but these things happen when you work your fingers to the bone 20 hours a day.
That's right. If there's one thing that will always be going on, is people suing people.
You better believe it.
Yes.
Okay, with that, I'm checking out, everybody.
All right.